You're listening to the No Labels, No Limits podcast with best-selling author Sarah Box. We focus on the mantra, no labels, no limits, no excuses. And now without further ado, please welcome your commanding coach with plenty of chutzpah and heart, Sarah Box.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to the No Labels, No Limits podcast, where we are on a mission to help others challenge limiting labels and beliefs and live fully and without limitations. Today, we are delighted to have Ken Fay, our Emmy Award-winning storyteller and cherished team member, join us once again. Ken and I have been talking a lot about storycraft, storytelling, video, all things that put nonprofits front and center of the transformation rooms and focus. So, as you know, if you haven't met Ken, I'll tell you this, but if you do know Ken, you already know this, and that is that Ken has a deep passion for heart-centered storytelling that connects, collaborates, and creates the sustainable solutions for the folks that we work with. And in this episode, we're going to talk about the powerful role of storytelling in a particular nonprofit organization and how it was used to significantly boost, support, and mission alignment as they helped spread their process and impact to others throughout their state and honestly throughout the nation with the power of the internet. So join Ken and I as he shares his expertise and experiences to talk to us about leveraging transformative powers of stories. So Ken, with that as a brief introduction, how are you today?
It is great to be here, Sarah. Thank you. It's always a pleasure to be with you. Hello to everyone out there watching and listening. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, well, let me get myself squared away here a little bit more. So Ken, we're talking about a particular client, and it wasn't a person. This was a group of people who worked, and even beyond that, their partners were involved. So let's talk a little bit about the project. And what I'm really hoping to help listeners see is how we can simplify what may seem from a very first blush look at how complicated something can be, how we could simplify it and really get the great results that you did. So I guess my first question was, after we met with our group, right, our folks that we love there, what inspired you or helped you pick the creative direction for this project so that it aligned both with their goals and what their goals and their budget, frankly, and what they were trying to accomplish longer term? Not just the video wasn't the thing, right? But how did that align with that longer term vision and their mission?
Yeah, that's a great question. So this client and the way we approached this client after we had our meeting, it really took a moment. We listen when we meet with people. We listen. That's number one. And I took a lot of notes and I did a lot of listening, and I literally just kind of took a moment to breathe and said, okay, there's a lot to tell here. There's a lot of partners involved. There's a lot of stories involved. There's a lot of ways to tell this story. And it occurred to me that as I'm putting all this together in my wordsmithing mind, I'm like, oh my goodness, there's a lot of different angles. Well, how do I incorporate a variety of angles into some way that aligns to their mission and their impact stories? And really, I started asking the question we all should ask when we get to know someone. Who are you? Why do you do what you do? And that was the driving force is how I approached this one, because I wanted to learn more after our meeting about who are they helping? How are they helping? Why are they doing it? How long have they been doing this? Like, you almost become a journalist, right? And you start putting all this stuff out, the who, what, where, when, why. And that's what started the journey of discovery. And so this project was a journey of discovery because it was a discovery journey for me, getting to know them. But at the same time, that's exactly what they're hoping folks out there will do, is discover them. And so they kind of align that theme. And so with that in mind, that's what we started putting together the video series.
So in one case, having an open, curious mind was one of your superpowers in there, right? Because I come from the world of nonprofits and that structure. I've worked with these folks before, but in a very strategic approach, right? More business approach. So I had the understanding of what they were doing, but not the heart behind it. And I mean, for the individuals I did, but not so I could turn around and communicate it to somebody else, right? Not in the way that a video could. But, it was interesting to me, like even in our call with them, although I'm guiding a conversation so that we can pull things from it, I'm also watching your face. And I'm watching when you kind of go out, I'm going, uh-oh, here we go. He's just had a brilliant thought. He's not sharing it yet. Not yet, not yet. But then afterwards, when we went on to the next phase, you talked about I'm hearing, I'm seeing. And I'm really curious, how did you go from having like understanding the what, why, where, all of that, to actually choosing a key element like hearing like, I want that bell sound at the beginning of the more longer documentary? Where did that come to you from?
That's come from, I think that comes from a variety of things in my career, my life, my experiences, storytelling that I've done over the years. But every story needs some sort of a hook, some sort of a, come over here and take a look at this. Now, what better way to do that in this case? This was about the school system than the bell ringing. I mean, when you think back to being a student, you're like, oh no, the bell, I'm late for class, or, the bell, I'm getting out of school, whatever it is, the bell meant something. So they still use a bell. So to have the sounds in the beginning of the video, the overview video is what we created in this case for this video, what we're talking about, to have it be like we're coming down and we're landing on this site. So we used a drone, right? We flew a drone up into the air, and we came across the valley and we showed the school. And while that's happening, we're not hearing birds chirping. We're not hearing the wind whistling past the drone. I wanted to hear school children playing. I want to hear the bell ringing, the stuff that brings you back into being at school. And so that's how the video starts. And then we go right into the origin story, delivered by the very man who gave the speech in the very beginning of the whole process, when this was just an idea. He gave a rousing speech that galvanized the community. I knew that needed to be in there too. So I took it back to the origin. Well, the origin of a school and all that is that energy of being a kid and the bell ringing, but then the speech delivered by the very same man. And I took excerpts from his speech and we recorded him on site at a school, walking through the school, as if it's a thought he's having, an echo of a memory. But also it's very, very timely because he's speaking to the audience. The message still resonates. And so to actually show him there, and then to have him sit down in front of the camera and extrapolate on what he was talking about and how the impact is, bringing it from the past to the present day. And that was how it starts.
Now he has, from the time he had this inception, this idea, and it really was for him like, I don't want to say an epiphany because he'd been around a long time and had great knowledge about what the challenges were, right? So it wasn't like all of a sudden he woke up and said, oh, we got to do this. He saw the need. But then there was that commitment level. And that was, to me, what struck me by what he conveyed. But he was retired, right?
Yeah.
And and so when he was asked to come back and be part of this, he was overjoyed about it, wasn't he?
Oh my goodness, he was so excited because it's part of his life. He put so much life into the program, into the school system, into the people that he loved and knew his whole life, into the community. And to have a moment to be called back and say, hey, would you mind talking? Oh my goodness, yes. I originally had the option of having just the audio part of the speech, just the recording of the audio. And I was thinking of things like, well, some images here. And I'm like, no, if he's willing, this is the way to do it, is to have the actual man deliver it and talk through it. And there we were. And he wanted to do it. He came in. It was fantastic. It worked out so well. And to go along with that, it wasn't just the overview video wasn't just showing images and showing history and showing, just kind of a photo shoot. I want it to be a living, breathing documentary. So what better way to do that, I thought, then, well, let's have a spokesperson be a part of this video, to take it from where that gentleman leaves it off, to talk to a few folks about what the program is, right? The director and a bunch of folks. But then where do we go with it from there, right? Well, we need a bridge. And the bridge was using an actual person in the program that was a familiar face that everybody knew, and then coach her to be an on-camera talent. And that was fun by itself.
That's not what she does for a living.
No, right? Not at all.
What's her role in the community?
Yeah, so she oversees the program. She's a director with that educational all that parts of it. She's not a get up in front of the camera news anchor person. But she had the willingness to go, all right, I'll give it a try. And so working with her, and in my past, my experience, I've worked with folks that are on camera talent. So it's just bringing the best worlds together. I mean, she had the heart and the drive to want to do this. So there's actual photograph of me sitting down with her, going over what she's going to say on camera, right? And so she's rehearsing her lines. She's getting a feel for what we want to convey for the bridge statements in between. And then we bring her out on set. We find a place to record her in, and she says, all right, and then things like this: take a walk 3 steps forward, then turn toward the camera, and then finish the line. And she goes, oh, okay, it was fun. And she did that, and we cut it, and she felt natural. It looked natural, and she became the voice of the overview video. And she was our bridge for every segment we produced in the video. There are 4 stories in this video, plus the wraparounds. And I made it that way on purpose because I wanted to be able to take it apart. So each of those 4 focus videos, which are part of the bigger video, each one is a standalone video. And so I recorded an opening and an ending with her for each video so that each piece could be then sent out to a different audience or used in a different way. But it also sticks together as a big one, this large video. But we went further than that. We didn't stop there. So we're like, oh, they need sound bites. They need shareable, sound biteable stuff, right? We live in a land of social media. Everything's got to be quick. Well, there are so many great sound bites that people would answer questions for that we were able to cut those up into like a minute here and a minute there, one in Spanish, right? One with all the different partners, so that then they could just get that out there. And then all of that information points back to them. That's the strategy. That's the strategy part is there's a reason for the videos and there's a reason where it should go. And we were a part of a larger piece being put together. And we provided that creative support to get there.
That's correct, because they were in the middle or in process of creating a toolkit because they have been very successful over the past decade of implementing this bigger vision, which is really helping families. It's beyond just being a resource center. There's just a different vibe to it, is what I can say, because I've done resource centers, being head of a children's cabinet, and those types of things. But there is a different way that these partners have been working together, not as collaborative, but true partners. So you can't tell who's employed by the city, who's employed by the school district, who is a faith-based organization. You don't know. They're all together working, doing their thing. And that to me was very gratifying to see. And the commitment levels were the same throughout, right? Whether they were the mayor or the principal of one school or whichever. So, but they had a bigger mandate, and that was to put together a toolkit so that other schools throughout the state, and in this case, we're talking the state of California, have a curriculum and a toolkit that they can use. How do you create those relationships? What are the legal agreements that you have in place? What memorandum because really behind the scenes, that's what the organizations need to know. Right? Because oftentimes people will say, well, how much are you kicking in? When that's not the right first question. So that was their mandate. And the videos were designed to help them connect that, right? So how then, once we'd produced all this, how did their curriculum development person blend those together? Can you talk about how Erin used all of that?
Oh my goodness, yes, Erin's amazing. So we from day one, she was on those design calls. And then she and I had design calls after the fact to see how we could align all the parts and pieces. So there was no surprise. And it was being crafted on purpose for use in the larger scope of things. And that certainly was a part of the reason why it all came together so nicely. But Erin took those parts and pieces and she created a toolkit, a flip book, essentially. But the support videos that we created, she was able to take all of them apart, just like we planned. The 4 focus videos, the mini videos, little soundbite videos, and then of course the overview video. And she was able to write copy around and through all of that, and then implement the videos within this flip book that was then sent out so that the book became interactive, informative, and engaging. all the things that you need. And it showed the actual places and faces of the things that we were talking about. I mean, we interviewed a bunch of people from the government sector right on through to the program folks, right on through to a man and children that they've helped in the program, and just really showed the scope of their partners, the legal system, the law enforcement system, those dealing with the churches. All of it was integrated. And that was the piece of this that really drove it all together, was all these various community organizations of different styles and sizes and shapes were able to have a voice and tell a cohesive message through what we provided, through the interview sessions, through aligning the storyline, through working with Erin on the design of what it is that she needed to have for this toolkit. So keeping that always in mind and center stage and just listening to what was being said, that's kind of how it all it came together.
What was your, I know this is not a good question to ask you. When you were on site, because we did this on site, we've done remote, but this one you were on site with your camera guy, your camera person. But it was a shoot, like you were moving, setting scenes, creating scenes, and you were working dawn to dusk when you were there, and then you left and produced it from behind, right. And then we got their feedback. But while you were there, was there one or two like moments when you just stopped and thought, this is so amazing, but it surprised you? It's like, well, I knew it was going to be good, but I didn't know it was going to be this good. Or someone would say this surprising thing, whether we used it in the video or not.
Well, two things. I could point to two different things. There's a lot to answer that question. There's a lot. But I'll point to two different ones. One of them was, it's a really cool place to be the interviewer. It's an honored seat. It's a privilege to actually have people share their lives with you. I had the opportunity to see and talk to every person that appears in this video. So that's when the camera is rolling and when it's not rolling, and making them feel comfortable and bringing them on set and then walking them through the conversation. And I got to hear everything that they were saying. Because of that, I came away thinking, oh my goodness, this organization, this program is hammering it home, because every single person is talking about the same commitment level, dedication, the work that goes into it, their pride, their love for it, and their love of community. I got to hear from everybody, where they only heard themselves or maybe one other person. So I got the whole thing. And I thought, oh, this is why we do what we do. This is why this needs to be told. So that just re-energized. That just is re-energizing. And in one of those conversations, it really struck me too. Of course, we were talking to a man who had gone through being homeless, and his children, his young sons, were living in a car and living in a hotel room and trying to normalize their life. It was very bad. It was very bad for these folks. They were freezing in their car. They felt comfortable enough to share all that with me, which really touched my heart, that they would just talk through that and then walk them through it, so that they started talking about the celebration in their life because of the change that this program has made in their life. This is one life, one family, a man and his two sons, and their life. Can you imagine how many more others are out there that this program has helped at so many different levels? And so that also strikes me as the power of the message of why it matters to tell this story, why it matters to tell your story that's listening and watching. This is the reason why, And yeah,
I agree. I was so touched by him, because I think, okay, as a parent, it's heartbreaking not to be able to give to your children what they need, not what they want necessarily, but what they need, like safety, food, security. And then to hear the boys echo that was hard for them, but they weren't like, they both wanted to be in school. They wanted to be in school and doing well. They just had challenges, like they were freezing. They had to go shower at the Y, right? They didn't get up and go somewhere quiet to study. They had to study wherever they were. So think about studying in the back of a van, no light. But they were so resilient also. And I'm not trying to paint too rosy a picture on it, but their awareness of the impact in their own lives and their commitment to going to school, I just thought, oh, you guys rock it. I'm so glad that you met this organization, that they embraced you, and that you whomever said yes, because it's a two-way street. People can offer to support or help you to the next step, help you break down a barrier, but you have to ultimately say, okay, I'm doing it. I'm going to do it, and trust, because it's scary to be vulnerable and tell people. I mean, I just think about how hard must it have been for that dad to say, I'm at the end of my rope. I want to take care of my boys and I need help. None of us likes to feel that vulnerable.
Right. Right. And that was the big walkthrough. And I could see the love off camera that he had for this organization, and in turn, how this organization wrapped themselves in an embrace on his life. And that's a beautiful thing. Those moments are priceless, and that's a real, genuine human connection. I love that stuff.
Yeah. And there's funny things that happen behind the scenes that we're not going to talk about. But I also know from the director of this program that those are the great moments. And there's a lot of coordination and stuff in the back that really takes that dedication to showing up. But to have that ability to count on your partners without having to worry about if they're going to step up and help is wonderful. So, yeah. Ken, I'm going to give you the final word on this podcast, because we're going to record something different from a different angle to help folks. But when you think about this from the quote unquote director's quote and how you select differently for this client versus another client, what are you looking for? You can say, here's what we want to do. We want to do A, B, C for this curriculum. But you're listening for something distinct, right?
Yes. I'm listening. I'm listening for that tone that I hear. I mean, I in my career, I see the world in a visual way. I hear it audibly. Like I say to you, I can see and hear this in the theater of my mind. I can see it and hear it. And I'm looking for that tone that kind of sets the whole theme forward. And there's something very similar. Even if you have a bunch of different organizations involved in what you're doing, there's something about it that brought them together in the first place. I try to find that simple, what brought this all together in the first place, because from that point, if I can identify it, then all these stories will ring out around it, and that enhances the entire production. And it also gives me a creative way in which to tell those stories. And I love that part too. So how do I tell it? What do I show? When do I show it? What do we hear? Do we hear the bell ringing, right? All that stuff just plays into that whole presentation.
Ken is a very sensory, creative person. And for me, listeners, what I will tell you is I have learned to watch his expressions. It is the most fun thing to be in a meeting, because I know, ding, there's an idea right there. So,
almost like I have a thought bubble go pink.
Well, you kind of do. I see your thought bubble. But what cracks me up is our clients will come and say, I have no idea how to do this. And we just start having a conversation. What is it you want, right? Don't tell us how you need to do it. What is it you want? But as we're doing that and guiding these questions, I can see your thought bubbles going. And then it's just saying, okay, Ken, so what are some initial thoughts? Where might we start with this? It is so fun. And so I'm encouraging folks, if you've been wanting to have your stories told on video versus, this is my old role as a executive director, versus trying to cram a story into a grant report narrative where they are dry and you are limited on space, and they say, oh, by the way, no videos, right? That's very short-sighted, but anyway, I'm encouraging you folks to go to our website, hop on a call with Ken, or sign up for Ken and I to come on, and let's do a strategy session with you and think about what might be possible for you, because we really do have different levels of service packages, if you will, from very simple to those that are much more involved, might have multiple on-site photographers, videographers, drones, all of that. We have all that. But what we really encourage you to do is start somewhere, because there's something about hearing a story from somebody face to face, even though it's on video, from a heart-centered place, not a fake place. Like, this is so great. So I really encourage you, hop on. And with that, Ken, wrap us up. Take us home.
Well, that's a wrap. That's what we say in the director's chair. And, honestly, I love putting our clients, our partners, our storytelling partners in the director's chair and providing that support so they can literally see it unfold before them and then be proud of it and use it and continue telling their story. It's all about them changing lives. And this is what I love to do. I love to help people change their lives.
Sweet. All right, No Labels, No Limits podcast listeners. We will be back next week with another episode. Keep your eyes and ears open. If you're watching us on YouTube, you use your eyes. If you're listening on a basic podcast episode player, it's audio. We encourage you to hop over to YouTube and look for it there as well if you want to see the visuals or things we've added in. But until next week, please share this episode with someone if you think they could get value from it. We appreciate your ratings, and reviews. We use them, we read them. So with that, we leave you and have a great rest of your week.
You've been listening to the No Labels, No Limits podcast with best-selling author, change agent, and strategic business coach, Sarah Box. You can grab the show notes and find out how to work with Sarah at sarahbox.com/No Labels, No Limits podcast. We'd love this podcast to reach as many people as possible. Please remember to rate, leave a 5-star review, and share the podcast with someone you think would get value from this conversation. Till next time, keep taking those daily action steps to align your purpose to your principles and achieve your goals in business and life.